You join an organization, it feels good, you're energized, you're leaping out of bed in the morning. And then to say something could change in the organization. It could be a change of values, as that organization was. It could be a change of management.
The question is from Thinking Focus.
Hi, it's Ricky.
Hi, it's Graham.
And today, the question is, how will I know when it's time to change roles? But before we dive in, this session is part of our mini-series, which explores questions that often come up when we're coaching. So what Graham and I are going to do is we're going to explore how we typically respond to these types of questions. So, Graham, how will I know when it's time to change roles? And be careful what you say here, because you might be suggesting that I do.
Is this a personal question? Are you looking for feedback? I think it's we probably don't get asked this question directly so much in coaching, but I think we do get asked a lot about kind of career paths and where people are going, and it almost feels sometimes that the person's edging towards asking this question. But I think how do you know when it is time to change a career path or change role? I guess at the heart of it, only the individual knows. Only the person really knows whether it's time to change roles or not. But I think there are some signs, some things we can look out for, some indications when we're talking to someone, when we're coaching someone. I think there are some indications that give you an idea that perhaps they're not in the best place in the role that they're in. Do you find the same thing?
I do. And when I think, because obviously when we prepare for these sessions, one of the things that you always go to, well, how was that for me? When did I recognize it? And normally it's when I didn't want to get up.
Yeah.
Which is quite often, to be fair, but generally because I like my bed. But, when you know it's hard to get out of bed in the morning, you can't seem to fire yourself up ready for the day ahead. Those are normally good indicators.
Yeah.
And it can be one or two things, by the way. It could either be it's just too easy because I'm on top of it. I've got good at what I do, and I'm lacking perhaps the inspiration and the challenge to fire me up to go through the day. Or I might be finding it really tough, and you go, it's just got too hard, and maybe I need a change.
Yeah, and I think that get out of bed in the morning is a phrase we use a lot. I know whenever motivation comes up, and motivation, I just find a fascinating topic generally. But when motivation comes up, I always talk about what gets you out of bed in the morning, and do people really understand that? It's at the core of what we all do, but how many people actually sit down and work out what that is? And I think it's when people are struggling to literally get out of bed in the morning to go to work, it's probably when that kicks in. And I think sometimes you're right. There's if you find your job becomes too easy, if it feels like it's repetitive, if it feels almost like you can do it with your eyes closed and you're getting no joy out of it, because bear in mind, some people are very job focused. They can do the job really well. They can, do it with their eyes closed. But they still get enjoyment out of either doing the job or out of the outcomes of what they achieve. I think it's when that joy's gone. It's probably time to go, okay, so is this now time for a job change? Is it time for a career change? Is it time for an employer change? And I think it's when we get to those bits that they are good indicators that it could be time for us to move on. I think the other one for me, when I think about when I've moved jobs, the other one for me is where you kind of almost hit a bit of a ceiling and you can't see a career path going forwards. So there's maybe no development for you there. There's no opportunity for development within the workplace or within the career. And you kind of go, well, if I've got this drive to learn, to develop and to better myself, actually doing it here, there's not really the opportunity for me right now. And then either you put that focus on something outside of work, or you then go, okay, so where might I get that from?
I think for me, that's, sometimes you just kind of fall out of love with it, don't you? You
Yeah.
just go, and also it might be that things have changed. You're not getting on with your boss anymore. You're not being inspired within that. So kind of the challenge that you joined with fades away. Um, and for me, that's really I've had that a number of times. You know, I've worked in a number of sales roles, and when you've done sales for a number of years, you kind of feel this Groundhog Day. You feel this, oh, I've got to go again. I've got to go again, and you kind of run out of energy um, to want to do that, to want to go again, because it's the same old, same old.
Yeah, and I think and sales is a good example actually for that, isn't it? Because if you're a salesperson, what happens at the end of the year, or even if you're a sales manager, what happens at the end of the year? It's two things will happen. One is your target's going to increase, and two is you're probably going to get more targets. You're going to get different things that you need to be out there selling or talking to people about. But fundamentally, the role is the same. As you say, you get up, you do the same thing every day. You're talking to customers, you're making the sale. Next day, same thing, same thing, same thing. So that Groundhog Day principle, I think, really holds true. And I've had it even in non-sales roles where you get up and you just feel like, this. I'm not sure what day of the week it is because every day feels the same. From a delivery point of view, I'm delivering the same content all the time. The only difference is the audience you've got in front of you. And I think there are those kind of signs, those indications that we might be ready to move on. I think the other thing I think about the shortest job I ever had, I was in a role for about 8 months. And I very quickly, probably within about 3 months, probably even 4 months maximum, I'd worked out that the organization wasn't the right organization for me. Um, but what I was conscious I was doing is I was getting myself out of bed in the morning. I was driving to where I was working. But the realization I had was that actually I was no longer doing it for me. I was doing it for some stability with a team of people around me. And what I didn't want to do was to let the team down. So that was, I guess, the other thing for me. Sometimes we hear people when we're coaching them or when we're talking to them is their reason for staying is no longer a personal reason. It's one about the team around them. And I think when I realized that's what I was doing, I wasn't happy, and I was trying to maintain this facade almost with a team. You kind of go, I need to go because I'm not the best actor in the world, and I'm sure therefore the team are picking this kind of stuff up. So I think there are lots of examples there or triggers there that we might see in terms of it being the right time to leave a job or to leave an organization.
You've also left a role when the values fit changed for you.
Mm.
We go back a long way, and you reached a point with a particular job that you were doing that kind of went, the values of the organization no longer line up with mine.
Yes.
And that was another reason where you went, it's time to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was, I've been in that role for about 6 years at that time. But interesting, I think the three of the four jobs I've left under my own accord, three of the jobs that I've left are actually at the heart of it. So there's been some values mismatch. The one where I left very quickly within kind of an 8-month period, that became apparent really quickly that my values were mismatched with that organization. But yeah, like I say, sometimes it's you join an organization, I guess it's some like change curve stuff, isn't it? You join an organization, it feels good. You're energized, you're leaping out of bed in the morning. Your values are aligned. The work you're doing is enjoyable. Or everything lines up for you. And then to say something could change in the organization. It could be a change of values, as that organization was. It could be a change of management. We know that, I can't remember the stat behind it. I think it's over 70% of people tend to leave an organization because of their manager. So it might be, I've been working with you, Ricky, and you're a great manager, and I love working with you. And then you move on to something else, new manager comes in, and I just don't have that kind of relationship with them.
And I think you're right. Managers have a very pivotal part to play in any team member's career. And if you feel challenged, inspired, supported, coached, and all of those things, then you're more likely to kind of stick it out. Whereas if that isn't the case, then you are more disturbable to other opportunities, and that might be to your point at the very beginning of this, that says I don't necessarily have to leave the organisation to be stimulated with something new. I could go and do a project role. I could go and do an operational role if I'm in sales, or vice versa. You could start to specialize in something, and actually those elements play out in terms of kind of re-energizing you.
Yeah,
Because I think, you tend to find when you kind of can't get up in the morning, or you're just not inspired by it, actually there is a catalyst for change. Um, but that could be you've run off the end of the current role. So, you've kind of done everything you wanted to do. Um, and you kind of go, right, or I've done this and I want to move on when the time's ready. And the challenge with those things is, right, I want to complete this project, and do the things I wanted to do, or transform a team, or transform a department. The problem with that is the opportunities that you need to step into something else might not be there for you at
yes,
that time.
yeah, definitely, yeah. And I think you're right when we get to that stage with somebody. So again, if we think about when we're having that kind of career coaching conversation with somebody, I think the first thing for me is if somebody feels like it's not working for them anymore. For me, it's a deep dive in terms of, okay, so what is it that's not working? Is it relationship with manager? Is it the organization? You no longer feel that fits for you. Is it, to your point, Ricky, is it that you've completed the thing that you went there to do, and now it's okay, that's done. I can do more of the same, but actually I want to, I enjoy working for the organization still. I want to look for some opportunities to do something different. So I think the first thing I'd be encouraging someone to do is if they feel they're not happy at work, if we want to use that phrase, is go, okay, so let's understand what it is that you're not happy about. And are there opportunities to fix that, for want of a better choice of words, and become happy again at work, which might mean, more responsibility, might mean moving jobs, moving roles, moving department, taking on, a different role, a bigger challenge. Or it might be, no, my time here has come, and I need to think about something outside of the organization.
And I think that's really important, that understanding the reason that you feel like a change is in order is crucial, because is it that there's something in the role that you're just either finding more challenging or too easy, or whatever it might be? Because there's a be careful what you wish for moment here
Yeah.
that says, I want more, or I want less, or I want something different. And all of that is absolutely fine. And I think the coaching that we do is trying to get to that root cause to say, well, why?
Yeah.
Is it that you've just had an argument or a disagreement, and it's easy to escape it because if you don't like conflict, then your temptation is to remove yourself from that situation. But of course, as we would always say, time and distance is a really key part of this, because will you still feel the same way in a week's time or
Yes.
2 weeks' time before you start firing off your CV to all and sundry to try and find something new? And I think that root cause is crucial, because otherwise, is it a band-aid? And are you going to find yourself in this in 6 months, 12 months, 2 years' time?
Yeah, and I think it's what will you get from moving? So I might be unhappy where I am right now. I'm going to move somewhere else, but what are you going to get by moving and looking at another opportunity in the organization or even outside the organization? Does it feel like that's going to energize you? Does it feel like that's something that you want to get out of bed for? And that kind of feeling of leaping out of bed in the morning, is it going to give you that back? And I remember years ago, I can't remember who said this to me, but and I have used this line. But someone once said they were about changing jobs, or about actually changing organizations. And they said the thing that they always kind of, when they're coaching someone, they think about and they help the person to think about is the grass may be greener, but it's going to take just as long to cut. And how he used that was to say, it might, because you're in a position right now where it doesn't feel great, it might look like it's better over there. The grass might look like it's greener, but you're still going to have some stuff around, ways of working and all those. So before you make the leap from here because you're unhappy, analyze where you're at, think about kind of what your reasons are for your unhappiness right now, and then look at something from a rational point of view in terms of, okay, so that might look and feel better now, but is it really going to give you the things that you're looking for, the energy that you're looking for, the development that you're looking for, the accountability, responsibility that you're looking for?
Yeah, and I think it's what's going to be different, because if it's the change, I know that I love variety. I love doing new things, but there comes a point where I go, actually, I've kind of done that now, and I want to do something else. I want to keep my fire burning because I like variety. I like new experiences, and ironically, this job gives me the best of everything because I get to work with clients, I get to work with different clients, and I get all of those pieces in the jigsaw that I'm looking for around, variety, exposure, and um, just different perspectives on things. Whereas actually, some organizations are built in a way where you've got to change role in order to earn more money. You've got to change role in order to get more development. You've got to change role in order to be exposed to other things. Where actually, if you enjoy what you're doing, how can organizations get more creative by going, well, we can create those opportunities for you?
Yes. Yeah.
So A, I protect you
Yeah.
in my team, and B, I make you happy. I give you some of those things that are going to energize you and keep you interested.
Yeah, and I think that's, for me, when I think about kind of particularly about one of the roles that I left, what was interesting is those conversations never happened. And probably partly on my side, I could have done more to raise those kind of conversations. But the minute I said I'm off, which at that stage normally you found another job, which I had, because most people can't just go, right, I'm off, handy notice in, and then worry about kind of finding something else. But so in this particular role, but at the stage when I'm handing my notice in, I've got something else lined up. And that was a point my boss was going, well, what can we do to keep you then? And what she didn't understand is I'd had, and maybe not as openly as I thought I had, but I'd had some of those conversations with her previously. So when it comes to time of I've made a decision, it's too late at that stage. So I think kind of when we talk to managers, coach managers around this, either from their own point of view or for someone in the team, are they having the right kind of conversations that allow someone to go, do you know what? I'm not as happy as I used to be around here, and I need to do something around it. So we get the chance to, to keep talent in an organization. But I'm guessing there's a whole other podcast in there somewhere.
Yeah, probably. But I think picking up on that, I think we talk a lot about expectation management, and if you're the sort of person that is focused on career and growth and wanting to, climb the ladder, so to speak, then why not have that conversation openly
Yeah.
with your line manager in order to go, look, what do I need to do before I move to the next opportunity? And of course, there might be a period between, when you've completed something and when it's time to move on, because opportunities might not be there. But actually, you don't necessarily have to complete everything. Now, if you're a completer finisher, by the way,
Yeah.
you probably are going to be, internally struggling with the fact you're leaving some of it
Yeah.
undone. Whereas I'm kind of going, no, let's get on with the new stuff because
Yeah.
the shiny new thing is much more exciting for me. Um, Whereas there are people that kind of go, no, my pride means I want to be seen as having finished my bit, and I'm not leaving something for others to pick up on my,
Yes. Yeah.
behind me, so to speak. And the reality is, in today's world, no job's ever complete, right? So it's kind
Yeah.
of go,
Yeah.
what's the success point? And if I've already had that conversation with you as my line manager, to your point earlier, actually, they might start being aware or alert to new opportunities that might play with that, particularly if they're interested in my career. Now, if they're self-interested, then they're going to find every way possible to block my development.
Yes. Yeah.
But, um, that's the whole point of expectations, because you'll get a sense whether your manager's bought into you as a person, not you as a number that
Yeah.
satisfies a particular job role, task, or whatever it might be.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I think what we're saying then, isn't it? Most people are going to probably experience this at some stage. They're going to feel like something's missing. Something perhaps has been lost in a role, and the first thing is probably even recognise that that's fairly normal for a lot of us. When we get that feeling, working out what what the root cause of that might be. And then, open up some kind of dialogue, ideally with your manager, but it might be that dialogue's outside of work with somebody, close friend or partner or somebody that you trust. Because I think and again, I think from my side, when I've had that, you tend to bottle it up a bit otherwise, don't you? And it's, talking to somebody is probably going to help explore the options in a better way.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's the point, is recognise when you're feeling that way, accept that it's normal, and then externalize that in a way that you feel safe doing
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
Because if, like we said before, if your manager's not quite bought into that, or they've dealt with somebody else in a way that goes, oh, if I say something, then and then you end up with quiet quitters, right? So they're
Yeah.
starting to look for opportunities before they even turn up. So, there's kind of two sides of this. If you're a manager, think about your people, think about how you energize them, how you keep them motivated, purposeful, and tuned into their values. But also, for you individually, if you feel like you're looking for something more, something different, something new, then have that dialogue and find somebody, a coach, a mentor, or like you say, one of your friends,
Yeah.
that can help you process that thought process in terms of what to do next.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Next time on The Question Is.
If you're a runner, it's quite a mindful activity. I mean, if you try and run and your head is elsewhere and you're thinking about work and you're thinking about the meeting you had this afternoon, sooner or later you're going to end up on your face.
To find out how Thinking Focus can unlock the potential within your organization, go to www.thinkingfocus.com, where you'll discover more about the work we do, helping our clients increase productivity and enable change.